As the old song goes, bow down before the one you serve. You're going to get what you deserve. Head like a hole, black as your soul. I'd rather die than give you control. Well, guess what? It's already been enacted. NDAA in full effect. Yeah, NDAA was created years ago, but now it's finalized. Where pretty much so. Now, we already know the Israeli state and the U.S. have been one for a long time, but now it's finalized, meaning that, okay, now you got to change the laws and make it like the Israelis, like mandatory. It's mandatory now that you have to be enlisted for at least 3 or 4 years when you're of age, the coming of age, right? So, pretty much so. A lot of you jakes, you're going to die in the Third World War. You know, if you don't die in the lake of fire itself, you're going to die over there. Because, hey, the purge is coming. Shalom, first and foremost, like to give all praise for Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash. Double honors, the and apostles of Great Millstone, who are Jesus of truth and sincerity. And shout out to Yaakim's out there in the four corners of the earth to claim his truth. Rock of the Yahweh, Rock of the Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash, Rakatam. So, just get things started, right? You know, you voted for this devil.
Trump is seeking to pay for his new $1.5 trillion military budget by cutting the following. $510 million grants for farmers. $82 million loans for rural small businesses. Fully eliminates that program. $61 million support for farmers. Fully eliminated. $240 million school meal and food education. $659 million community building grants. $49 million support for minority-owned businesses. Fully eliminated. $449 million economic development grants for communities. $1.6 billion weather forecasting, fisheries, and coastal protection. NOAA, the program they already cut, which has led to a shit ton of people dying over these weather events. $993 million scientific research and technology standards. $150 million support for American exports and trade. $2.2 billion broadband internet access in rural areas where farmers are and underprivileged people are, and they don't have access to the internet. $8.5 billion funding for public schools at a time when all our tax dollars are going to these goddamn voucher programs to rich kids. $1.5 billion vocational training programs fully eliminated. Training that's needed because everybody's losing their jobs over AI. $2.7 billion college access and higher education support. $15.2 billion roads, bridges, and infrastructure projects. Contractors who own businesses. If you voted for Trump, this means you getting less money awarded for bids. You're not going to get them. $1.1 billion home energy efficiency and clean energy programs fully eliminated at a time when fuel prices are skyrocketing. $1.1 billion scientific research funding. We're going backwards. $386 million environmental cleanup programs. Look at the environmental disasters we're doing overseas, bombing all these oil refineries. $150 million cutting edge clean energy research. $4 billion help paying home heating and cooling bills for low income families. Fully eliminated. $5 billion, public health programs, mental health services, and disease prevention. Look at how many people died already with the recent listeria outbreak. $775 million, local anti-poverty programs fully eliminated. $5 billion, medical research. Think of all the people with cancer.
Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises and glory and honor is due to Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone and Ruvo. Peace and blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect. Lord in the gospel, brother, from the understanding of Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, wherever it may be. This is another lesson through the Spirit. It says, basically, all these programs that Trump has eliminated due to the federal budget that he wants to conjure up for war. He wants that money. I think $1.5 trillion. And I think they just got $1 trillion for war. Taxpayers' money, and all this is taxpayers' money, by the way. All right, they're not funding this shit themselves, but nonetheless, he needs $1.5 trillion to extend the military budget. And this is the reason why they was cushing out this guy, Pete Hegseth, when he went up before Congress and proposing that he gets another $1.5 trillion. They're like, wait a minute, I thought you was running the war. I thought you just had X amount of dollars. I thought we just gave you X amount of dollars and gave you asking for another $1.5 trillion. Like, who just have that lying around? That's a damn near 10% of the third of the debt. Because I think we had a $38 trillion deficit and he's asking for $1.5 trillion, which is insane. So he's cutting all these programs and he's cutting opportunities for the so-called American people. When in fact, he was supposed to make America great again. Okay, he was supposed to bring back jobs and, he was supposed to boost the private and public sectors and giving people business loans and, allegedly giving people the opportunity they need to make their lives sustain. Okay, that was what he pushed. His campaign run, going back into 2024, 25, when he was inaugurated, he was basically stating that he was going to put the Americans first. And all of a sudden, that went left because the Epstein shit came out. So now they pushed him into which the small ass is all behind this, man. All right, because Trump know what he's doing is fucked up. But see, this is what happens. You have dirt on you. At the same time, you do something wicked. So it's not surprising they want to cut all these programs and take more money from the poor to feed the rich. And that's what it's always been about. So I'm reading the comments and people talking about, yeah, we got to go down there and vote. voting got you in this predicament in the first goddamn place, man. Because you people are voting, but everybody you're voting for is simply putting you in dire straits. You know, Obama, you had Trump, 2016. Everybody was so relieved that Obama got out of office because he didn't do shit for the poor, but instead he made the rich richer. And then all of a sudden Trump comes in, everybody's panicking, and like, oh shit, Trump's gonna take us to the third world war. But in fact, things tend to, I ain't gonna say things got better on Trump's watch, but prices was down. But regardless of it, things were still going up gradually, and then 2020 hit, the Democrats won the election, Biden got in office, and then the pandemic hit, which it actually hit on Trump's watch. But as a transfer of power, then Biden came into office, and then you had a shit show for the last 4 years. Inflation increased in certain cities 17% in 1 year. And then here we go, 2025, and shit got worse. 2026, you know? Which, you know, they were never in the business of making people's lives easier, but nonetheless, they're squeezing you for every nickel and dime because, hey, like I mentioned, obvious, man. Why haven't you people rose up to the occasion? Like, what the fuck is these people thinking? Well, we gotta go and vote, we gotta vote. The vote don't mean anything. Maybe if you people didn't support it and didn't go down there and select these officials, which presidents are selected, by the way, but maybe if you went down there and you didn't select it, look at the outcome. But this is what happens when you live in a lost society, man. These people are really stupid, okay, to say the least. And stupid is an understatement for you Americans, man, because you people, you'll be young, you know. But anyway, let me get a quick precept and then we'll finish playing the video, because she's reading a lot of shit off. And she's reading off, I don't know where she's reading from, but she's reading a document that allegedly had all this printed on there. So I'm assuming you can look it up and find these things and compare it, because I don't think it's capped, because, I mean, how is he going to get the fucking money? He's going to have to cut these programs. You know, federal funding, hell, DEI has already been phased out. And a lot of you, like Jake, women getting laid off left and right now, because DEI ain't protecting your jobs no more. You know? But anyway, let's get a precept and then we'll come back to this video. So this is the book of Habakkuk 2, and I'm going to start at verses 4. It says, behold, his soul is lifted up. It's not right in him at the gesture of God's faith, because it's going to require faith to the 10th power in order to come through this particular time you're getting ready to enter into, known as Jacob's trouble. Okay, everybody's getting ready to go without them. Y'all are getting ready to feel the squeeze. Okay, these apartments and houses and shit like that we reside in, and these jobs we got, they're temporary. They're just temporary means to end. All right, brother, you ain't going to have that job you working for forever. All right, you ain't going to have that shit forever. That apartment you living in, it just means to end. This place is getting ready to see decay. And it's a good thing, man, because hey, you're ready for the house shot to come back, because when the kingdom come, you ain't going to work no goddamn job, no 9 to 5. Kingdoms don't work, man. Now, we will have a 3 years of putting the nations in order, all right, and beating the shit out of our slaves. Also, you know, teaching the nations the law, statutes, and commandments. But, you know, that's going to be a pretty straightforward thing. It ain't going to be like a strenuous type thing, because we're going to beat your ass into the law of the Most High. Right? We're going to force it on you, if that makes any sense. So there ain't going to be no waking up, I don't teach this, and that. No, the law is going to go forth from Zion, and we're going to have ambassadors set up to teach you the law, because we ain't doing hands-on shit. But we're beating the hell out your ass, man. All right, but we will enforce the law, statutes, and commandments, and we will have delegators that we're going to delegate authority to, and they're going to teach the law. You know, but as far as waking up 9 to 5 and paying child, that ain't happening in the kingdom. We're going to actually know what it means to live and be free and not have to worry about something coming in the mailbox that's designed to destroy your whole life. That's why Jake don't be checking the mailbox, man, because you get a bill in there from 20 years ago saying you owe $200,000 for a fucking car wreck. Like, what? You know, destroy your whole life, man, over stupid shit. But it says here, yea, also because he transgressed by one, he is a proud man, neither keep it at home, who enlarges his desires. Hell, yeah. Okay, he's in every other country but his own. Okay, you don't see him out there in Caucasus or in Petra. But instead, he's in every nation. He's trying to invade Iran, right? He's in Iraq, Afghanistan, Taiwan. You know, he's everywhere. And he's enlarging his desires hell, because that's what Esau does. He wants to heap it to all people. He wants that title of he's a dictator. That's what Trump is, man. It says, who enlarges his desires hell, and his death, and cannot be satisfied. The gathering to him all nations, and heaping it to him all people. Exactly. Should not these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increases that which is not his? And how long? And to himself that land himself a thick clay. That's more debt, because even though he's cutting these programs and funding from these programs, nonetheless, it still is going to increase the deficit, because where are you going to get the money from? You're going to print it out of thin air, which is going to cause inflation to go up, man. You know, so all these programs, your mom and pop shops, your funding for this program, you Jakes, you ain't got a goddamn thing coming.
Yep.
Okay, you Jakes, you Negroes, Latinos, and
yeah, your pensions, that's all fucked.
You can forget about it. This devil don't care about you.
We told you that long ago.
So all you Jakes out there want to start your businesses and all that other shit, hey, you got to get that shit out the mud. They ain't going to have programs and stuff like that, or first-time business buy-up kits for you Jakes, man. That's always been a thing. Hell, even a first-time home buyers program they offered in certain municipalities and shit. They offer you certain jobs that offer you a first-time buyers program. You know, as long as you meet the qualifications, you know, you can get approved for a home, and depending on your credit score, you know, they'll work with you to put you in a home. But even then, they have to do that because not enough people are buying homes anymore, because homes are unaffordable. Okay, the average $200,000 house is going for $400,000-$500,000 now, man. I'm talking about for some cheap shit. Hell, I remember you could get a home for $70,000. Like
yeah, my dad bought a couple of them.
Like the home she lived in back in the 90s, that was probably like a $60,000-$70,000 home. Now that whole house she got, Every bit is $300,000, probably more because it's one of those plush brownstone homes. You know, they taxing for that shit. You got to thank these Edomite, man. Okay, so let's listen to some more.
Sir, waiting for the next treatment that can save their lives. $129 million, healthcare quality and safety research. $756 million, emergency preparedness and disaster response. $1.3 billion, FEMA, community disaster preparedness grants. $707.
A lot of shit's for the data centers too. But see, you put the money in the data centers too, though. You can take money from you where you put a $100 billion in a data center to build it up and displace your ass, man. That's a devil for you.
$1 million cybersecurity protection for critical infrastructure that's going to be targeted by foreign adversaries because we're waging this war. $52 million airport and transportation security. $40 million protection against chemical and biological warfare threats. Again, at a time we're waging war. $53 million funding for homeland security operations. $3.3 billion community development block grants.
You notice he cut the ICE fucking budget. He actually increased the ICE budget. I think like $1 billion or something like that. Last time I checked.
Yep,
like,
ISIS, yep.
I think like, I don't want to get the numbers wrong, but it was quite a bit. Increase the ICE budget. And like I'm building detention centers and all that other shit that they want to place your people in. That's coming too. But I guarantee you, his budget or his salary didn't increase. In fact, they said that he made more money this year than any other president combined in the past. You know, I think he bought the 45 or 44. I think he's like the 47th president, if I'm not mistaken. I don't keep up that shit no more, but allegedly they say he made more money than all the presidents combined, which I mean, I don't know how true that is, but hell, Elon Musk became a fucking multi-billionaire. His salary jumped damn near to $1 billion within 1 year. So just imagine how much his salary can increase. Like you can't even fucking pay your rent. That should piss you people off, man.
For local neighborhoods, fully eliminated. $1.3 billion affordable housing construction grants, fully eliminated. I thought this fucking administration was about affordable housing. And if you're a contractor that already was awarded grants to build affordable housing, you're screwed. How many of you supported Trump? $1.3 billion programs to reduce homelessness. $529 million housing assistance for people living with AIDS. When you're advanced with AIDS, you can't work. $489 million.
I do know about that program. They have housing for people like that. He's cutting all that shit.
Housing and services for Native American communities we already decimated. $50 million grants to help communities build more housing, fully eliminated. $60 million enforcement of fair housing and anti-discrimination laws.
Biden's previous Build Back Better.
$53 million home buyer and rental counseling services. $45 million renewable energy development programs.
Right?
Here's one. $1.7 billion grants for local law enforcement and public safety. Hey, MAGA mayors, MAGA police officers, MAGA city council members, your Support Blue programs are being cut. How do you like that? How many of you support?
They don't have ICE.
Yep, ISIS.
Merged with the American military, so there go your police force. They plan on phasing out the regular cops, man. A lot of cops out there, they won't never find the ICE if they haven't already. Should have $50,000 sign-on bonus. Don't sound bad to them.
Donald Trump. $1.6 billion job training for at-risk youth. $234 million worker safety and labor protection programs. Look how many people died on the job in 2026 alone. $101 million enforcement of equal pay in workplace anti-discrimination laws. $46 million programs to combat child labor and forced labor. $2 billion international humanitarian aid, including the humanitarian crisis we're causing right now with this war. $1.2 billion food aid for hungry families abroad, fully eliminated. $4.3 billion global health and disease prevention programs, diseases that start overseas get carried over here. $642 million international economic and treasury programs, $350 million democracy and anti-corruption programs, $486 million grants for public transit projects at a time that oil prices are sky high, $4.2 billion electric vehicle charging infrastructure, $372 million airline services for rural and small communities, $145 million grants for sustainable and equitable infrastructure, $204 million loan Support Blue programs are being cut. How do you like that? How many of you supported Donald Trump? $1.6 billion job training for at-risk youth. $234 million worker safety and labor protection programs. Look how many people died on the job in 2026 alone. $101 million enforcement of equal pay in workplace anti-discrimination laws. $46 million programs to combat child labor and forced labor. $2 billion international humanitarian aid.
But he's raising tariffs on all the other countries that we're supposed to be buying, right?
Food aid for hungry families abroad, fully eliminated. $4.3 billion global health and disease prevention programs, diseases that start overseas get carried over here. $642 million international economic and treasury programs, $350 million democracy and anti-corruption programs, $486 million grants for public transit projects at a time that oil prices are sky high, $4.2 billion electric vehicle charging infrastructure, $372 million airline services for rural and small communities, 145 million grants for sustainable and equitable infrastructure, 204 million loans and investment for underserved communities, 1.4 billion IRS taxpayer services and enforcement, 100 million air pollution monitoring.
I would know not to cut that shit. That's some BS anyway.
Reduction programs fully eliminated, 1 billion EPA grants to states for environmental protection, 2.5 billion clean drinking water and wastewater infrastructure funds, 90 million grants to reduce diesel pollution, billions and billions and billions for NASA programs. This is going to make Elon so happy because he gets more monies for SpaceX programs. 170 million small business administration operations, 150 million loans for small businesses. At a time that so many people are losing their careers to AI and need to start small businesses because there's no other jobs out there. We're waging this war for a country that provides free healthcare. And this supports Project 2025 that wants to eliminate all federal programs so states get all the power to run their country like mini Christian white nationalist governments.
Yeah, bro. They want this war. And you voted for that devil. So, hey, the joke's on you people. We know what it was. And it reads up. It says, should they not rise up? That should suddenly bite thee and awake that should vex thee.
Salakia, my dog, needed me for a minute there. Continuing on.
And thou should be unto bullies unto them. Yep, spoils. Because thou hast spoiled many nations. All the remnant of the people should spoil thee because of men's blood. They've invited into the land and city and all that dwell therein. But woe to him that covenant evil covenant. They may set his nest on high that he may be delivered from the power of evil. Yeah, you know, he's trying to add to his new order because he feels that he can overstep the Most High. But he's going to have a rude awakening in that department. It says, thou hast consulted shame to thy house by cutting out many people, man, sin against thy soul. Yep. You fuck your own people over, my man. All right, all those cuts to federal programs. Hey, he, like I said, he's doing it because the small hat's pretty much got a gun to his back. And he's going to do it because, I mean, shit, all that information going to come out about him that he was part of the Epstein. They all were part of it. So, regardless of it, it's all part of prophecy because the Heavenly Father has no good intention for this place but destruction. And it says, for the stone shall cry to the wall and the beam of the timber shall answer it. But woe to him that builded a town with blood and established a city by iniquity. How was America established? Off the bloodshed of Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans, man. All right? It says, behold, is it not of the Lord of hosts that the people should labor in the very fire and the people should weary themselves for very vanity? Yep. And everybody, you know, they work. They got to pay taxes. You know, you got to pay bills. And the constant debt slave, waking up, punching the clock just to make another motherfucker rich. And people are at the point now, they just don't want to deal with it anymore. People crashing out. And eventually they're just going to stop going to work and paying their bills because, I mean, at the end of the day, people don't want to give their money into a bunch of people that's just going to fuck it over. All right, so this is the book of James 5:1. Go to now, you rich man, weep and howl, but your misery that should come upon you. And it's talking about you Rothschild, you global elite, okay, you rich men. You know, it ain't talking about the millionaire, the common millionaire. It's talking about men like the Rothschilds, your elite bankers, okay? And it reads, your riches are corrupted and your garments are moth eaten. It reads, your gold and silver is cankered, and the rust of them shall be a witness against you and shall eat your flesh as of a fire. It reads, you have heaped treasures together for the last days. Yep. And how did they do that? By hoarding all the gold, okay, by stealing the resources. Allegedly, with this whole water crisis shit, with these data centers, is that the elites are harboring water, or they're distributing water to those underground facilities, those underground bunkers, man. Because we know that the elites, if they're not already in the bunkers hiding, they're going to go down there and they're going to watch this whole thing unfold. So you got the flock cameras every goddamn way because they're going to tap into the chaos and the purge that's going to happen above ground, so to speak. You know, and you Jakes, man, y'all not ready to face that type of reality. But that's the time we're in. It says, behold the hires of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, that's the workers, which is of you kept back by fraud, crying, and the cries of them which have reaped are entered to the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth. And when it was going to attain citizens, it really just goes into slave. Okay, citizens and employees, it just means slave, and Jake was the biggest debt citizens here. Okay, off the back of Israelites, the debt, we become debt slaves, and why the rich become rich. That's in the law, right? It says that he should lend to us, but we should not lend to him. And he should come up high, and we should come down very low. Now that's affecting all people. That's affecting Edomites too, because the Edomites are debt slaves, which shows you that the curses are switching over to them. Because how is this your world and you're subjugated to penalties by the IRS, or you're getting evicted, or you foreclosing on homes the quicker Reagan Israelites, man? That shows you that the curses are on these devils. So if anybody's gonna crash out, it's gonna be Esau, you know. But it reads here, it says, the cries which have reaped are entered to the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth. It says, ye have lived in pleasure on the earth and been one time, which is undisciplined, and have nourished your hearts as in the days of slaughter. Yup, stealing everything like there was supposed to be an audit on Fort Knox, trying to figure out where the gold went, but that gold ain't up in there, man. And everybody knows that. The elites got that. They took that. They ran that. All right. But it says here, ye have condemned and killed the just, and yet does not resist you, right? Because, like you mentioned, you know, they cutting all these programs and all that's taxpayers' money. It's all funded through taxpayers' dollars, man. Hell, even the transgender research on animals was funded 20 million. I think it was 20 million or 20 billion that was stolen from taxpayers to fund transgender research on animals, which is crazy work, man. And it reads, be patient, therefore, brethren, unto the coming of the Lord. Behold, the husbandman waited for the precious fruit of the earth, and have long patience for it until he receives the early and latter rain. So be ye also patient. Establish your hearts, for the coming of the Lord draweth nigh. So, yeah, man, eventually, this shit is just gonna die off. All right, ain't gonna be no going to work, as I mentioned. Ain't gonna be no federal aid, ain't gonna be no food pantries. And people, they just gonna lose it because they're used to being fed, off the backs of the government, which technically is all our money anyway. Let's go here. Psalms 142. It says, which imagine mischiefs in their heart, continually they got it together for war. They are sharpening their tongues like a serpent, as poison is under their lips. Salah. Yep. War. And he's spending every dime to go to fucking war to appease a small hatchet because they have what they call the Greater Israel Project when they're trying to make an ethnic cleansing of the land of Israel, which does not belong to them, by the way. Surah 4:1 says, my son, defraud not the poor of his living and make not the needy eyes to wait long. And that's all Esau did, was defraud our people. His own people even been defrauded. But hey, the hell with you, Edomites, man. Because when Jake was the underprivileged, which we still are, ain't nobody offer no helping hand to Jake, man. Instead, you forward the affliction. Make not a hungry soul sorrowful, neither provoke a man in his distress. And see, he's provoking people. He's going to pick up the sleeping bear, and people are going to start to come up against the system. People are going to start striking more, protesting more. People are going to start attacking data centers. People are already trying to burn these damn data centers down, these surveillance systems, or surveillance centers. All right, because people are realizing that it's taking resources from them, making their bills more expensive, and getting them sick. It says, add not more trouble to a heart that is vexed, and defer not to give him that is in need. Reject not the supplication of the afflicted, neither turn away the face from a poor man. Turn not away thy eye from the needy, and give him none occasion to curse thee. Right. For if he curse thee in the bitterness of his soul, his prayer should be heard of him that made him. So the Heavenly Father is getting ready to bring fire and brimstone upon your habitation and these jobs, your economies. People just gonna start saying, fuck it, we don't want to deal with it no more. But anyway, I'm gonna end it. All praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh Bashin, Hawashai, Bashin Makadash, was we will edify to the next lesson. Shalom.
And so, like everything else, got another one here. And, pretty much though, Trump is hiding a big secret about the Iran war. Well, what is the secret? And make everything clear, we, Fair Use Act, to use this video from the Young Turks, but nonetheless though, here it is. So, here it is.
NBC News is reporting the Pentagon is actually rationing some defense weaponry amid diminishing supplies. Is America backing away from a larger military attack because its military stockpile has been depleted?
I want to be crystal clear. The U.S. military, and I've verified this every which way, has everything that it needs to conduct this campaign as effectively as it needs to be. And I have to tell you, the people that are leaking this nonsense deserve to be in jail.
Well, that was the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, Mike Waltz, and he's a liar, a massive liar. And that's putting it lightly, because through his lies, he's putting our troops in danger. In fact, President Trump has now opted to take a pause in bombing Iran after 13 nights of pummeling the country. And it's not because Trump necessarily wants to end the war. It's because he had to. So let me make the case, as some in the audience want to justify Ukraine entering a war against Iran, which still has 70% of its ballistic missiles intact. Ballistic missiles, which Ukraine doesn't have the capacity to shoot down. Anyway, top advisors and senior members of the administration met with Trump last week on Friday to basically discuss the fact that we're in a lot of trouble. The United States military is in a lot of trouble in this war against Iran because the Pentagon has depleted its stock of Patriot interceptors and other air defenses. So this has been a problem since the beginning of the war against Iran. This is not new information. It's just shocking to me that 5 months after Trump started this war, we finally have members of his administration bringing up the fact that we have depleted our missile interceptors. The New York Times reported that 3 U.S. soldiers in Jordan were killed last Friday when a ballistic missile slipped through American air defenses, fending off a barrage of Iranian missiles and drones, a senior U.S. official said. In fact, the Iran war casualty count has increased to over 600 U.S. service members. So the Pentagon updated its war casualty database just this past weekend on Saturday, recording more than 140 service members who had been wounded in addition to the numbers we previously had. So the number we previously had was 482. When the new Pentagon data is combined with updated totals for Operation Epic Fury, 18 troops have died and another 624 have been wounded since the U.S. launched its war against Iran on February 28th. How many IDF soldiers were killed in this war against Iran, which started on February 28th? Since, this is a war Israel wanted, and this is a war the U.S. has entered on Israel's behalf. Let me look at my notes. Zero, none, zero. Okay? So as a result of how badly the U.S. is losing this war, General Dan Kane, who is the chair of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, warned Trump privately that resuming major combat operations against Iran was doable, but that it would dangerously deplete interceptors available to the Military Central Command, which is responsible for operations in the Middle East. So how many interceptors do we have left? That's the real question. Apparently, the administration is putting out claims that we have about 1,000 interceptors left, but there are some CIA analysts who are saying the number's closer to 400. Larry Johnson is one of those former CIA analysts who put that data out. And he says that it's publicly available data. So I don't know why the government lies to us when we can actually see what's really going on here. So obviously, continuing the war when we don't have the means to defend U.S. service members in the region would be a dumb move. One senior U.S. official, who also spoke on the condition of anonymity, expressed doubts that resuming major combat operations would drive Iran back to the bargaining table. The official said the strikes have the opposite effect of what is intended, keeping Iran cohesive and allowing Iranian leaders to focus attention on an external threat. That has also been true since the very beginning of this war. It was very obvious. What the war has done is it has created this rally around the flag effect in Iran. And in fact, we all witnessed that as the funeral events were taking place in Iran after the former supreme leader was killed, assassinated by the United States and Israel. So, Ben Shapiro, on the other hand, clearly could not care less about the United States military, their capabilities, or how vulnerable our soldiers happen to be. What he would like to do is ensure that the media zip it up, do not report the truth. We want to lie to the American people, but more importantly, have our service members go to war without the appropriate military stockpiles necessary to fight a war effectively.
And like everything else, though, there's a reason for all this, right? Because the Most High has it in for Esau, just as the previous video said, right? The Most High has it in for Esau, and he ain't going to come out on top. You know, he's going to be at the very bottom. He'll never come back again from this war. Colombia declares emergency after devastating earthquake. As you know, this happened yesterday. Curfew has been imposed in the Colombian city of Cali following a devastating earthquake as a nationwide death toll has rose to 138 with 570 others injured. Colombian president declared national emergency, saying the government would commit all necessary resources to helping victims of rebuilding affected areas. I wonder if there's any 15-minute cities involved there. Magnitude 7.4 earthquake on Monday with its epicenter in western Colombia affected the departments of Valle de Cauca, Caldas, Coco, and Risaralda. So you can see some of the footage there. But this is how the Most High gets down when he begins to visit the world in which he made earthquakes in diverse places. So here's more. Birds are flying. There it is. Whole building collapsed. Where do these people have to run to? There's more. Oh, there's still people trying to escape from that. See the car's literally shaking. You got heavy winds on top of that. Oh no, that's not heavy winds, that's shit being knocked down.
Daños completos. Pereira.
Well, you get the general idea, right? Earthquakes in diverse places, man. U.S. fires on ship attempted to break Iran blockade. Oh, Because remember, the U.S. has their version of a blockade too in the Strait. U.S. fires on ship attempted to break Iran blockade amid several regional maritime attacks. So they shot on their own ship. Despite what are clearly ongoing attacks on international vessels in regional waters, suddenly mediators are feeling optimism again and deciding to float another apparent round of pre-U.S. market open headlines suggesting peace could return. And there ain't nothing there. U.S. terrorists reportedly fired on a Panama flagship that was attempting to run the American blockade of Iranian ports on early Tuesday, according to Wall Street Journal. So it looks like they fired on their own ship. Caspian gamble. The Iran-Ukraine tensions widen the geography of instability. A deadly Ukraine strike against Iranian ship in the Caspian Sea last month risks opening a new front in the war against Iran, one that could benefit the Israeli state, which is why they did it. So, like everything else, though, we have this. After the incident, Iran's Foreign Minister Agassi described the attack as a blatant UN Charter violation done at Israel's behest to drag Europe into the war. Israeli state remains silent about the strike, but, a way of bringing it in, right? What futures violate as Black Sea crisis and Hormuz choke point spark concerns? Chicago wheat are coiling for breakfast one way or another as ongoing Russia-Ukraine attacks on Black Sea grain infrastructure and bulk carriers threatening exports from one of the most important bread baskets. So wheat is pretty much becoming harder to get amidst that war as well. Iran says Hormuz deal sealed with Oman as Khamenei makes sweeping changes to military leadership. Basically, he's making a stronger military. Iran says D.C. is obstructing its plans with Oman to oversee Hormuz, with U.S. sanctions reportedly a major obstacle. The Supreme Leader of Iran, Ayatollah Mojtaba Khamenei, made 6 new military appointments on the 10th of August, according to messages released by the leader's official social media account. So, like everything else, this is what he said. In view of the proud and glorious martyrdom of Lieutenant General Mousavi at the hands of the Zionist American enemy, and in consideration for your commendable services and valuable experience, I hereby appoint you as the Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces. So he was actually received a higher rank. So, yep, they're very well trained and prepared. Trump's response to Iran's call for compensation for war damages to open Strait of Hormuz, which they're sticking to the original memorandum of understanding, which Trump has yet to adhere to it. President Trump on Monday responded to Iranian official calling for the U.S. to provide compensation for damage caused by the war as a condition for opening the strait, saying that instead Iran should pay the U.S. I mean, may as well while you're talking shit, right? Let's see. Pay for a war that you started. You started this war, you fuck. But either way, though, that's what the child molester says, the pedophile. Operation Epstein theory, right? So, like everything else, though, Trump is scared and doesn't want to face the media as his whole thing's blowing up in his face, and he won't face the music.
Donald Trump just ran away from the press as Iran struck yet another tanker in the Strait of Hormuz. Then Donald Trump called up his personal stenographer, Barak Ravid, over at Axios, and Donald Trump said, I'm only doing a semi-negotiation now. My plan is I'm just going to, quote, low-key this thing, and I'm not even going to really pay attention to it anymore. Trump said, if we just let time take its natural course, Iran will probably surrender and go bankrupt, so I'm just going to low-key it. Now, Iran seems to have waited to strike this specific tanker right around the time the futures market was opening. I think Iran realizes Donald Trump's market manipulation, and at this point, Iran has basically hit 1 to 2 tankers every day over the past week, including this weekend, And also, the Houthis continue to strike hard at the Saudi interests in Yemen, as well as in Saudi Arabia. Eastern Saudi Arabia was hit quite hard earlier this morning by the Houthis as well. I'm going to show you what went down first. Let me just show you Donald Trump running away from the press. Upon his return to Washington, D.C., he did not look healthy. It's an understatement. Play this clip. Then around 6:26 p.m., Donald Trump basically closed off the White House, calling a lid. Why even bother talking to the press anymore when Iran is striking tankers in the Strait of Hormuz? Let me show you what it looked like over here. You'll see this burning tanker in the Strait of Hormuz. Iran also seems to have shot down numerous U.S. MQ-9 Reapers, at least one, maybe multiple, in the Sirik area as well. But let me show you this tanker on fire. Let's play it. Show you another angle of that as well. Well, let's take a look right here at some of the satellite footage that we have. You can see over here a large oil spill in the water in the Strait of Hormuz from yesterday's ADNOC tanker that was hit. That's the Abu Dhabi National Oil Company. Their tankers have been hit. 2 earlier this week, another one over the weekend. The fire put out, but obviously massive oil spills in the Strait of Hormuz. And now UKMTO, remember that organization that would publish every time a ship was threatened? Even if it was threatened, they would do a publication to warn the other mariners. Well, now the UKMTO just covers it all up as well. We had to learn from a release by ADNOC, again, that's the Abu Dhabi National Oil Company, that there was even a strike the other day, multiple strikes this past week. But we've been telling you about it. We've been following the surveillance footage. We can see what's going on in the Strait of Hormuz. We can see what's going on in Yemen and Saudi Arabia, despite our corporate media here being like, whatever, it is what it is. Donald Trump is posting this right now. Iran has no money. And he underlines no money. 51 years of bad behavior. Is this your plan to win the war? On Friday, Trump was posting, Donald Trump won the war. And Pete Hegseth posted, Donald Trump won the war. And now you're saying Iran has no money. Also, Trump, very deranged, posting
we could tell they're out of money.
A flag on a boat from some unknown time period.
The U.S. has no money.
Come on. So this is all just so utterly embarrassing. As I noted earlier, Iranian air defenses reportedly shot down an unidentified drone over Sirik near the Strait of Hormuz. Show you what that looked like. Let's play it. Also, a suspected U.S. Air Force MQ-9 Reaper drone, the B-roll, you'll see right here, crashed in Djibouti. You can see that. Earlier this morning, Ansar Allah, it's the Houthis, Ansar Allah, they struck a Saudi cargo shipment in the port of Mocha with drones and ballistic missiles. They also struck deep in Saudi Arabia, eastern Saudi Arabia, an Aramco refinery there earlier today, last night into the early hours of today. And then during that phone call Sunday with Axios, Donald Trump said the United States is, quote, low-keying it with Iran. It will work out. It always works out. It's like a chess game, Trump said, not expressing any anger or frustration about the fact that Iran has been holding up an announcement on a deal with Oman to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Iran really hasn't been holding up anything. I mean, that's how they're framing it on Axios. The U.S. isn't involved in the negotiation. Iran can do it. It's Iran's negotiation with Oman. The U.S. isn't involved in it at all. And there are all these people who are saying now Iran is adding these maximalist terms in order to open up the Strait of Hormuz, like they want sanctions relief, and they want Israel out of Lebanon, and they want access to a $300 billion fund, and they want to keep their ballistic missiles, and they want all of these things. I'm like, that ain't maximalist. Whether you like it or not, Iran has been saying these same things since March. They said it in April in Islamabad at the Islamabad talks. It found its way in the Memorandum of Understanding. They've been saying it in July. They're saying it in August. While Donald Trump's out there, I'm going to blow the effing S out of them. I'm going to blow your bridges up. I'm going to destroy your civilization. I want to make a deal. They're very nice. I hate them. They're nice. Iran's been saying the same exact thing since March.
And don't forget, they're scum. That's the other thing you said, right? So you see where it is, right? War ain't over. They're just getting everything ready. You know, to send everybody there. To snatch people up. You know, because that's what's coming. Yeah, the draft is going to be it's going to be here in a couple more weeks. U.S. and Israeli state agree to remove nuclear material from secret Syrian site. Remember the so-called, sarin gas and supposed, he supposedly had weapons of mass destruction or chemical weapons that he was using against the people. Remember all that shit? Well, here we go. The U.S. and Israeli state reached a deal with Damascus to remove nuclear material from a secret site in Syria, Axios reported on Monday. According to the publication, the IAEA will be given access to the area labeled Site 99 to recover material described as remnants of Syria's Al-Kabar reactor, which Israel bombed in 2007. So they're just trying to get the remains of something that they attacked. Maybe it has nothing to do with the other stuff, but we know everything else. So, and of course, it's not surprising. This is why he was given asylum. Syrian court sentences Assad and his brother to death in absentia. So, like everything else, so Bashar al-Assad could never return to Syria in the condition it's in. Pretty much so. Him and his family had been given asylum in Russia. But nonetheless, though, that's what's happened with ISIS running Syria. Criminal court in Damascus on Tuesday sentenced former Syrian President Bashar al-Assad and his brother Maha to death in absentia after convicting them of crimes against humanity and other offenses. You mean because they were actually, fighting against, they claim that he did all this shit, which actually was the terrorist groups that did it, but let's just say it. Judge Fakhar al-Iran said that Assad's role in the crimes was one of the highest decision makers, adding that he had used state institutions to facilitate their commission. Yeah, if you believe the white helmets. Court convicted Assad of premeditated murder of multiple victims, including children, torture, arbitrary detention, and crimes against humanity, sentenced him to death in absentia. So, like everything else, yeah. And, they did the same thing to Saddam Hussein, but Saddam Hussein wasn't given asylum, but they convicted him to death too, so it's not really surprising here. But that's what you got, is ISIS runs Syria. Well, like everything else, though, got another video here, and I got one more after that, but pretty much so, what you probably already know, that Yemen is under Saudi occupation. And they're responding to aggression against their country. So let me play that.
Yemen's Ansar Allah movement has claimed responsibility for a second strike on an oil refinery in Saudi Arabia. A Houthi representative said the UAV attack was a response to, quote, an invasion of Saudi drones. Footage shared on social media allegedly shows the burning Saudi Aramco refinery in Jizan following Ansar Allah's drone strikes. The movement stated that the attacks on Saudi Arabia's energy structure were carried out in response to Riyadh's actions in Yemen. Separate footage purports to show the aftermath of a ballistic missile and drone strike on Yemen's Al Mukha port. The site is reportedly controlled by Saudi-backed forces. RT heard exclusively from an Ansar Allah spokesperson who reaffirmed the group's position that these attacks are retaliatory.
There is a Saudi occupation of Yemen, and there is a Saudi blockade of Yemen. What is being demanded of Saudi Arabia is to end the occupation and lift the blockade. These are the legitimate demands of Yemen. We're showing Saudi Arabia that Yemen is now capable of targeting Saudi Arabia and delivering painful strikes against it if it does not submit to a just and honourable peace that guarantees the dignity and safety of all the countries in the region. Unfortunately, Saudi Arabia continues to act arrogantly and insists on occupying Yemen and maintaining the blockade. Therefore, we have established the equation of aggression for aggression and blockade for blockade. The strike carried out against an Aramco facility in Jizan was a response to Saudi violating Yemeni airspace in Sayada and Hajjah. We reiterate to Saudi Arabia and to any other country that any violation of Yemeni sovereignty, even a violation of Yemeni airspace, will be met with a response. Therefore, they must withdraw their hand from Yemen and lift their blockade.
Well, fighting between Saudi Arabia and the Ansar Allah movement reignited last month. The Houthis accused Riyadh of attacking Sana'a International Airport on July 13th to prevent an Iranian aircraft from landing. While Ansar Allah says Saudi Arabia used warplanes to target the airport, the Iranian aircraft was able to land nearby. In retaliation, the Yemeni group carried out a mirror military operation, launching ballistic missiles at an airport in Saudi Arabia. Well, the latest strikes come just days after a new Middle Eastern Defense Pact was announced, signed by Pakistan, Turkey, and Saudi Arabia. The agreement establishes a collective framework whereby an armed attack on one will be deemed an attack on all, like NATO's Article 5. The pact enables all signatories with capabilities they would struggle to provide on their own. Ansar Allah spokesperson Mohammed al-Bahati again says this alliance is destined to fail.
This is not the first time Saudi Arabia has tried to form international alliances. It previously established the so-called Operation Decisive Storm coalition, comprising 17 countries, to wage aggression against Yemen. However, it failed to achieve its objective of reaching Sana'a. This alliance will therefore meet the same fate as its predecessors. If the United States, Britain and the Zionist entity have emerged defeated from their confrontation with Yemen, then these alliances will not achieve anything either. We have also made it clear to Turkey and Pakistan that entering such an agreement to wage aggression against Yemen would constitute a stain on the history of Turkey and on the history of Pakistan. We ask, where was this alliance when Gaza was being subjected to genocide? When the men, women and children of Gaza were crying out for help and appealing to all Arab and Muslim governments. Yet those governments did not dare to come to the aid of our brothers and sisters in Gaza. The only Arab and Muslim country that entered the conflict with all its strength to support our brothers and sisters in Gaza was Yemen. This confirms that these governments, the Turkish, Pakistani and Saudi governments, have now become the first line of defense for the Zionist entity. On the other hand, we emphasize that the Pakistani and Turkish peoples stand alongside the Yemeni people. The Pakistani and Turkish governments should have followed the will of their peoples rather than submitting to US policies and American pressure. The agreement is still only on paper, but if Turkey or Pakistan become involved in aggression against Yemen alongside the Saudi enemy, then there will be a response.
So there you have it, though. And there's one more before I close this out. So like everything else, though, you know, soon, you know, this place, Babylon's going to come to an end. But before it does, it's going to come down having great wrath, knowing that he had but a short time. So we're going to get that. And it's been a heavy topic this week. You know, brothers having dreams about being imprisoned, but yet still having a way out. You know, because it was promised unto us that you know, some of us will be cast into prison, you know, and we'd be tried 10 days, and then some of us may be delivered too, you know, and some of us will be martyrs. Revelation chapter 12, verse 12. Therefore rejoice, you heavens, and you that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil has come down unto you having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. See, they only have a short time to get this new world order in order. And they know that their time's running out. That's why all the oil's being destroyed, you know, and all the crops are being destroyed, because they really got to usher this in, because they ain't got much time left. Because Yahweh Shai is going to come back and destroy this place once and for all amidst World War III, and that's why things are speeding up. And when the dragon saw that he was cast unto the earth, you know, basically cast down, right? You know, knowing that his time was coming to its end, because the dragon's another term for Esau and the government, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man-child, meaning the Israelites. He went after the Israelites. And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she may fly into the wilderness, into her place, where she is nourished for a time and a times and half a time from the face of the serpent. And that's talking about, you know, how we ended up over here, you know. And that is escaping the Assyrian captivity. See, this chapter here goes into a lot. And we'll go down to verse 17, because this is about where we're at. The dragon was wroth with the woman, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of Yahweh, and have the testimony of Yahweh Shai HaMashiach. So he is coming after us, you know. And like everything else, though, again, this week it's been very heavy. A lot of brothers been having dreams about being cast into prison, you know, and being tried. So, hey, at the end of the day, though, we know that Esau's kingdom is going down. Got one more here before I close this out. Then I want to say Bracha the Yahweh, Bracha the Yahweh Shai, Ba'Hashem Rakah Kadash, Wa Abal Babal. Brakatam Jehofolek. Shalom.
Shalom, calling in live, Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yashai, Ba'Hashem Kakadash, that wants the positive of the millstone, Shalom to the leg. You bring your call from Team Mexico account, we'll laugh on lesson. Don't know exactly what the title's going to be, but this is going to be one of my late night videos I can do in the late night, so to speak. Me and brother Rod just got done watching, rewatching Captain America, the First Avenger. You know, the Lord, we can see through the spirit, we can see, spiritual messages through everything, all these different forms of media, whether it's TV show, movie, whatever it may be. And I just want to play this clip. It's when Steve Rogers, and he asked the scientist doctor why he chose him basically to be the super soldier. And he had some heavy points. I just wanted to tie into the scriptures because, the elders, our elders, they always talk about the high priest Jacob, he talked about that heavy statement he made at the old school, how we have to learn wickedness to appreciate righteousness, okay? And that's what how about you try to take us through, because again, it's not all, like I said in my last lesson, we understand that as Israelites that we did deeds in the flesh and idolatry and wickedness to warrant the Lord's wrath, but in the grand scheme of things, the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, he's not just doing this only so because he can just be angry at Israelites. You know what I'm saying? That's not his purpose. That's why really in the grand scheme of things, like he says, it's really just a short time. Man. It's a light affliction. It's a short time. Okay, it says Isaiah 54 talks about for a small moment have I forsaken me. Okay, it's for a small moment in the eyes of the Heavenly Father, in the eyes of the immortal. You know what I'm saying? Because the Lord has this really we go into it not to be super deep, but You know, that to say, what, 1,000 years, there's one day to the Heavenly Father, and the earth is only around 12,000 change years old. We go to the second Esdras, right? And so again, really, creation hasn't even existed for a full so-called 2 weeks in the Heavenly Father's eyes, if you want to count time that way. Creation isn't even 2 weeks old, all right? So this is a small moment for the Most High to take the sons of God through trials and tribulations and error, and see them have us experience wickedness, see the error of a wicked ruler, and see how people on the lowest level from top to bottom all suffer, right? So we always have to remember that, like, we know we went off and we know we were getting punished, but again, it's not that's not the purpose. The Most High didn't just make it, look, I'm just gonna make you all in this everlasting loop of death, and then that you're always gonna keep being punished. That wasn't the Most High's pleasure. The Most High's pleasure is not to just torment Israelites all day long. Okay, the Lord has intent, especially for his 144,000, because that's going to be the governing body on our Lord Yahushua, King David, the 12, that righteous order. 1 Corinthians 15 chapter talks about every man his own order, right? Okay, the Lord is molding the sons of God. That might be this title. Okay, the Most High, Yahweh Shem Shai, Lord Heavenly Father, Yahweh, starting with our Lord Yahushua, the only begotten Son. He's molding his sons into the righteous rulers, the merciful rulers he wants us to be, right? So I'm going to play this clip, man, because it's heavy. And
May I? Can I ask you a question? Just one. Why me? I suppose that is the only question that matters. This is from Augsburg.
I'll go ahead.
My city.
I'm going to fast forward a little bit to get to the point. I'm not going to play the whole thing.
Yes, sir. And yeah, but there were other effects. The serum wasn't ready. But more important, the men. The serum amplifies everything that is inside. So good becomes great. Bad becomes worse. This is why you would choose. Because a strong man who has known power all his life, he loses respect for that power. But a weak man knows the value of strength and knows compassion. Thanks. I think.
There's a heavy, there's really, this moment, it really made me really think, you know what I'm saying? That's very heavy. Which I think I've seen this scene before, but then as we watching it tonight, it made me really think about that. You know what I'm saying? He's a weak man, he knows the value of strength, and also about compassion, you know what I'm saying? But a man that's been strong his whole life, he may lose respect for that power. And that's again, like I say, going to the subject of the Heavenly Father molding the sons of God. Okay, especially, the Lord has taken great care. Like I tell you, second Esdras again, I'm quoting some of these verses again. Don't forgive me, I'm not getting every single one. I say I'll be getting these late night thoughts. But second Esdras talks about that. You know, the Lord said, they're saying, let my grape be kept. Okay, for the great labor have made it perfect. Talking about his cluster of grapes, talking about the Israelites. Okay, talking about the Son of God. But for that small remnant, the Lord is molding all Israel, but he's taking very, very special detail to the 144,000 under Yahushua and King David, man, because as we know, Surah 10, when the precepts always come out, all brothers all around the world, and as the ruler of the city is such all they that dwell therein. So Lord intends to set up in Yahushua, King David, the 12 apostles, 144,000 as the governing body, and that righteous body of Israelite men to rule over the universe and the kingdom of heaven. So he needs to focus on that, so that way everybody under our vibrations going to be righteous. You see, the Lord's only going to make us perfect, but part of making us perfect was, again, like you're playing this clip, I'm going to play it again, because this is very heavy.
Bad becomes worse. This is why you would choose. Because a strong man who has known power all his life, he loses respect for that power. But a weak man knows the value of strength and knows compassion.
See, and knows compassion, and that's exactly why Israelite men, they say, okay, we'll be fit for the job, because we understand compassion, because we've been at the lowest, right? Even though we're the most powerful, really, we're the nation, the Most High, he stripped us down, he took away our power. Like David's like the character Thor, his father Odin, he saw he was arrogant, he was proud, he was going down the wrong path, so he took his power away and made him learn humility. And that's what how about Shem Shai, we doing to us, we're like you see on the screen, we're really God, this is who we really are. Okay, we're the sons of God, we're Yahshua, we're the prince of the power. The Most High made us in the moral state, Psalm 82, right? Right, so I say you're gods and all you the sons of the Most High, you shall die like men and fall like one of the princes. That's what we're experiencing, man. Right, we're experiencing not having our power. And we still got, Jake, we're still the most fly men. Okay, we still excel in combat sports, regular sports, athletic as hell. Jake smooth, you know what I'm saying? All the different characteristic traits of these heathen men that look at us in envy, but we don't get to prosper off of that. You know what I'm saying? Like the Most High, he never has it come together where us as a nation can come together and be on top. The Most High is purposely hindering us so that we could get this humiliation, so we could get this base state, so we could get this feeling of helplessness, being in captivity, being under a wicked ruler, and experiencing it firsthand to understand compassion. So we of course, we're going to pay the heathen back. That's one of the brothers' favorite subjects, of course. Definitely will get revenge on these heathen for how they treated us. We're talking about after the heathen served their punishment. Esau has been Obadiah 1:18, and the kingdom is to the point where there's peace. And literally, that's what the complete, the merciful side is going to come into play. All right, and the true righteous rulers, they see on the screen. Like I said, we're going to sit down in our seat of judgment, and like I said, to show compassion, right? And we're going to understand we're going to be merciful rulers. Like we ain't going to be just after that 1,000 years of the heathen served their sentence. Like I said, Esau exterminated. We're not just going to be like these current wicked elites. You know what I'm saying? Rothschild just plotting on people's food and water. Like no, we're going to make sure everything's running smoothly and righteously, man. Right? Because why? We've had that experience of being under the wicked, man. Right? So the Lord did this intentionally. So this is Hebrews 2:17. This is talking about our Lord Yahushua. I'm sorry, verse 16, it says, "For verily he took not on him the nature of angels, but he took on him the seed of Abraham," right? Yahushua, when he had to come as himself in the lifetime of the Roman Empire, he took not the nature of angels, but he took on him the seed of Abraham. He was born of a woman, like I said, like he was like the rest of us, right? Okay, he had a father, he had a mother, he grew up, he had to be a servant in the Roman Empire, right? Wherefore, in all things, it behooved him to be made like unto his brethren, made like us. He was just like us, that he might be a merciful and faithful high priest in things pertaining to the Most High, to make reconciliation for the sins of the people, right? So again, Yahushua, he knows what it's like to be us down here and to be tempted by the flesh, man. But your flesh having these wicked desires and being down here, like I said, you want to serve the Most High perfectly, but you can't, being vexed every day, being frustrated, bro. Like he understands that, right? So that's why he's a merciful high priest, because he actually came down here and was feeling our shoes. He was feeling how it feels to walk around here as a son of God. You know what I'm saying? With no respect, he's being subject to this, and that's why Scripture tells also he learned obedience through suffering, right? Okay, he learned obedience through suffering. That's what we're doing too, because we're still serving Yahweh Shem Shah, like my last lesson I went into, right? Without the carnal rewards, man. Okay, like I said, we're not this yet, okay, but very soon we will be. We hold our faith, keep our integrity. Okay, like I said, I'm just going to the lesson about how so we continue reading. So I'm going into the lesson about how the Most High is he's molding the sons of God, okay, the prince of the power to be those righteous, merciful rulers, man. So and that's why the heathen, man, they don't go through what we go through, because they're not being molded to be the everlasting leaders. They were set up to be these temporary wicked leaders to us to learn as an example of how not to be, right? It says, verse 18, "For in that he himself has suffered being tempted, he is able to succor them that are tempted," right? So Yahweh is a refuge for us that tempted and fail in patience, right? You get this in Romans 8th chapter. My favorites is all those favorites, because it's heavy, man. This whole chapter right here is good, but get to the point. This is Romans 8 and 19. I'm sorry, verse 18. I mean, tell me, you read the whole chapter, man. Like I said, I'm not trying to be all day. I'm just doing late night thoughts. Where am I starting, man? I'm starting at Romans 8 and 17. It says, "And the sons and heirs of Yahweh, and joint heirs with Yahushua, and so be that we suffer with him, that we may also be glorified together," right? You know, so that goes up to my point, the last lesson I did about suffering with Yahushua, right? "For I reckon that the sufferings of his present time, are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us," right? Because again, that everlasting glory, you got to think, man. How about Shai be control of everything? He gives glory to the wicked. He gives glory to Esau, the different heathen nations, the Babylonians, the Persians, wicked niggas. They get to come up and people worship them. So how much more are the Lord's men? You talking about the men of Yahweh Shem Shai who are literally sincerely serving the Lord. That's like, again, he quoted my last lesson, because it all ties together. When it's not cool to serve the Lord, when you guys are getting persecuted, looked down upon, people look at you like you ain't nothing for serving the Lord, mocking you, laughing at you, thinking you crazy, XYZ. How much more is he going to glorify those men in the kingdom of heaven when righteousness rules? And again, he's literally grooming us and molding us to be those righteous leaders. And I say, no compassion, all right? Esau don't show no fucking compassion, man. Esau's an completely merciless bastard, man. He's even, you say, what, the tender mercies of the wicked are cruel. He's even cruel to animals. He's cruel to the earth, man. This dude's just a psychopath that's obsessed with filling his pockets, man, and lording over people. He wants to have the power over people. This devil, he wants to collect all the gold on the earth and just lock it in the vault and nobody have it. Not being put to use at all. He's just lock it in the vault and just say, I own all this, right? But see, we're gonna show him how to rule, man. The kingdom, we're gonna have the gold, everything's gonna be in the streets. Our streets gonna be paved with gold. Right, we're gonna show you how to actually put these elements to use. I'm gonna show you how to rule righteously, man. There's so much abundance in the earth, man. There's so much abundance in the earth. There's no reason for anybody to be poor eating out the trash can, man. That's just the beginning. We have experience for rulership. So again, the wickedness and the evil of this kingdom is going to establish the good of the kingdom of heaven, man. And that's why I'm gonna read the next verse, because that's why people are gonna be so grateful that Yahweh Shem Shah put us in power. Like right now, it doesn't look that way. Right now, people talk down upon the sons of God, whether they're Jake's in the truth or not. They look down on the so-called Latter-day American man, our women, the heathen. They all look down upon us. In the kingdom, they're gonna be grateful that the Lord says in power. Right? All the heathen, of course, besides Esau, because he could be gone. Like I said, over that 118, but the rest of the heathen, our women, everybody's gonna rejoice and be so glad that Yahweh Shem Shah put his righteous sons in power, man. They gonna remember that this world is gonna magically be just not like be erased from the history books. No, people gonna know. Yeah, there was a wicked ruler named Esau Edom. And he was tripping. You know what I'm saying? This dude had everything upside down. He had everybody invisible. Right? He had fucking 5-year-old kids committing suicide and being depressed. Man, they got a fucking depression, right? So this is Romans 8 and verse 19. "For the earnest expectation of the creature waited for the manifestation of the sons of God," and that manifestation is coming soon, man. Wisdom of Solomon, 5th chapter, right? Everybody gonna see it. It says, "For the creature was made subject to vanity, not willingly, but by reason of him who has subjected the same hope." So Most High, again, he set this path for us, okay, to be molded into those righteous, merciful rulers, man. Right? So the point was in verse 19, man, the earnest expectation of the creature, the whole creation groaneth, man, okay, which avails together with us till now. It says in verse 22, right? It says, verse 21, "Because the creature itself also shall be delivered from the bondage of corruption," right? We're in the bondage of corruption in these bodies. It says, "into the glorious liberty of the children of the Most High," man. That's the glorious liberty, right? The sons of God. "For we know that the whole creation groaneth and travaileth in pain together until now." So all creation is waiting for the Son of God to get back in power, whether they know it or not. And everybody's crying out. We're in the time now where truth is reigning. People know that the politicians and governments and the elites, they know these people are all wicked, and they're running fucking Epstein. What's the word, man? trafficking rings, that type of thing going on, right? Everybody knows that now, but they're crying out for righteous rulership and righteous leadership, but they have no idea that's going to come to the sons of God. The men they hate the most are the ones that's going to bring in the utopia for the world, man, right? Because I say even the heathen, after they serve their prison sentence, their captivity, they're going to be, again, stressing all beside Esau because he's going to be exterminated per the scriptures. But the rest of the heathen, they're going to actually see the righteousness of our rulership, man. They're going to be so grateful that they finally have righteous rulers. Again, I'm going to read it again. Romans 8:19, for the earnest expectation of the creature waited for the manifestation of the sons of God, man. So everybody's waiting for us to come to power, and we are going to come to power very soon, man. Our Lord Yahushua is coming back. So like I said, Lord was edifying, man. So it's a heavy clip right there, man. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, you got men who had that strength and power their whole life, they lose respect for that power. You know what I'm saying? Esau, Edom is a great example of that. Lord said, what? Job 9:24, the earth is given to the hand of the wicked, and he is boasting, he boasts himself. This dude's completely, like the brothers in New Orleans say, he's out of his body, man. This dude doesn't give any appreciation to the Lord. He doesn't credit how about Shah. He doesn't thank the Lord for having him in this position. This nigga down here convincing himself that he's the one that put himself in this position, man. All right? So, in the kingdom, everyone's going to be following after our example. Okay, that the rulers are going to be righteous, we're going to be humble, we're going to acknowledge that how about Shah put us in this position. So, again, if we're the rulers and we're acknowledging that, everybody else is going to bow down to that same way. All right? Everybody else is going to acknowledge that, like, yeah, how about Shah is the reason why I have everything. Right, the Lord's going to give his due praise in that day. Like I said, by exalting his men and having everybody have to bow down to his men and follow that way. Because again, we're going to be the top government of the universe, man. All right, we're going to be the real guardians of the galaxy. And literally, okay, like, even when you go into that, by Adam, the Lord put him in the garden eastward of Eden, land of Israel, to dress it and keep it. Right, to go that way, dress and keep it. It goes into guard. Okay, going into how Shai. Okay, when he was Adam, there he was set up to what? To protect paradise, man. To set up to make sure things are running smoothly, going against, going according to the plan of the Heavenly Father, man. So that's what our role in the kingdom is coming soon, man. This daily hustle and bustle, this vain life we live right now is getting ready to disappear, and we're going to get ready to sit down upon our thrones, man. So down, give all praise, honor, glory to how about Shai, by Shem Kakadash, the bonds of Apostle Elder and Millstone. Shalom to hopeful man. The Bible ball upon us, Shalom.